Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and welcome RGVFC head coach Gerson Echeverry. Gerson, how have you been?
I'm doing well. How's everything going?
Pretty well. Just stuck at home here in the valley with the parents, and just doing just a lot of home office and trying to get myself occupied.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. No, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. I think we're all a little anxious and ready to for things to just get back to a little normal. And but we still have to be careful. We're in danger, and a lot of people have lost their lives. So I think we need to make sure that we don't get a little ahead of ourselves.
Exactly.
Coach, good evening. How are you, man?
I'm doing. What are you doing, boss?
It's rocking and rolling for now at this junction.
Okay, okay.
So 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 now that we've got you here with us, we've got a couple of questions that we would like to hear some information about to us right now. The latest news has been that USL teams, for the most part, have been allowed to go back into training with at least under a small group reunions at the training grounds. So going with that, coach, my question is, with this virus still out there, where even at outside of soccer, local governments, state governments, and even the federal governments have been, trying to open things back up on a slow basis, little by little. My question is, what was deemed as the proper procedure for these players to return to their training grounds as approved by the USL? Have they been tested for COVID-19, or what kind of evaluations have been done to them?
Right now, we have not done. I don't know what any other clubs have done, so I can only speak from what we've done. We have not done any testing of our guys, except just making sure that they're monitoring themselves. Obviously, USL is very different from MLS. Most of the MLS guys, they have a tendency of living different places all over their individual cities, as opposed to most of the USL teams. There's usually a big group or a large group in which they live in certain complexes. So for us, we live in an apartment complex down towards Mission, and so all of our players pretty much live together, with the exception of one who lives Garza, who lives away. And so basically, they've just been monitoring themselves and checking in with Randy anytime anything's going on. Obviously, we have done temperature checks and stuff like that, but no one has any symptoms. They have to fill out a wellness every day. And so far, knock on wood, we have not had any issues with anyone from our team or our staff.
I think that sounds really good. Really good news that for the most part the team did take the necessary precautions to minimize the risk of the players, to get infected by this coronavirus, by COVID-19. Speaks well of the organization as a whole, and the decision making skills by you, the technical staff, and the whole Dynamo organization
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
it came down from them. Obviously, when we've heard, and when MLS uh, started this, because obviously they were about a week to 10 days ahead of us in regards to having coming back. They put in place a plan in which, with the individual training sessions, and they put a whole plan, and in which we mimic. This goes from how players arrive, how we arrive. Players have to be checked in, their temperatures before arriving, the spacing in between, how to get to the field, everything. And even though USL has allowed to do small groups, We are not doing that right now. We're going to do individual. As one of our models is, we're going to crawl, then we're going to walk, and then we're going to run. And I think just because if God forbid, with the living conditions that we have in regards to the proximity of players being near each other, if one guy gets it, automatically his roommate gets it. Probably the guy who lives across from him gets it. And if we're traveling in a bus and cars and everything, then those guys are going to get it. Then we can get it. And obviously us bringing, this thing home. I have 2 children. I have 2 small children. And so, we have a player, Taberson, who's got 2 small children. We have Lucatero, who's got a 8 or 9 month old, I believe. So we were being very, very careful with that. And so we're going to start with the individual training sessions, and then we're going to monitor that this week, monitor it, the following week. And then once we see that, obviously we'll study, we'll see how things go out, and then maybe start implementing the small groups. I mean, right now, I just don't think that we want to risk anything, being that we just don't know when the starting date is. And we don't want to hurry and start rushing things. And like you said, I mean, if someone gets it, then that's 14 days they're going to lose. And if it goes through the whole team, then that's 14 days this guy, 14 days this guy, and it could just become a mess, particularly if we're able to train in a group setting and we haven't gone through these baby steps.
Before I pass it on to Ray for now, one of the things that I do want to say in regards to what you mentioned regarding, the rate of infection of the disease and the probability if somebody were to be infected by this virus is one of the things that's been talked about by reporters or media spokespersons, more specifically in Mexico, that, just saying in Spanish, les gusta la polémica. Has been
especially in Mexico. Mexicans and Argentinians, your reporters down there are a little, you guys are harsh.
Yeah, I mean, there's really so much that we can do as fans. But, I mean, the problem is it sells, and they're going to keep at it. But one of the things that have been said, it's regarding these decisions or these questions of should the games be brought back now? Or, one of the things that they mention is, they're performance athletes. The rate of infection for them is really low because they're healthy. I'm like, dude, what about technical staff? What about their families? Just because they are extremely healthy and won't get, symptoms, or the symptoms are going to be mild, doesn't mean that anybody that's around them their immune system is as strong as theirs.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a little irresponsible, and I think that's why we're pretty sure of what we're doing in regards to making sure that we're taking these small steps. I don't know when these games. Obviously, I would feel those are decisions that are made by people above me. But I hope that there, what I mean, that we go through a small phase and through through some testing and people that are smarter than all of us kind of read into it, look at the numbers and see if numbers are going down, what our rate of infection is, and hopefully it's coming down. Secondly, hopefully this buys us some time for a vaccine by our scientists around the world to come up with. And so that for me is the key, because like you're saying, there's so many aspects. I mean, they're just an example. We start games, right? So do we start them at empty stadiums? Okay, that's one question. So let's just say that we only open it to a quarter of the fans, or half of the fans, or whatever. So what happens every time the ball goes over and someone catches it? You don't know what that person has. So when they throw it back, and usually, how old are our ball boys?
They're really young.
They're kids. So now, are you going to put the responsibility of a kid handling the ball from someone that they don't know? And now, are you going to give that responsibility to that child to clean the ball so we can put it back in play? Like, these are all little things, you know what I mean, that I think have to be taken care of. And I hope that, obviously, if we do have a plan and we have something set, then obviously I'm all for it. Like right now, I'm all for training, because I know that we are able to control our environment. We're able to, have the products to make sure that our players and our staff once they come into the complex and leave the complex, we're safe between the gloves, the hand sanitizers, the mask, everything that's going on, making sure that, there's no cross contaminations. Although, obviously with our group, you do have some roommates. So, we try to line roommates together. So, you know what I mean? So I guess, they've been around each other and things like that. So all of these things are being practiced, and all these things have been thought out, between our staff at Dynamo and our staff with RGV. That's upper management, all the way down to, as I said, I've been in conversations with the staff in Houston. I know Ramsey and Randy have been in constant communication, and those are the athletic trainers, the heads of the medical staff for both Houston and us. So, we're trying to be really efficient. We're trying to be very careful and making sure that, we just limit to make, no mistakes and endangering, anyone, because like you said, if we're endangering our players, we can endanger ourselves, our families, but then our communities. Because if I have to go out and go to the supermarket and get food for my family, and if I have it, obviously, and I don't know if I'm symptomatic or not, but I'm taking all the precautions to make sure that I limit myself. We've been staying in house. My daughter, we they run around our complex here. They don't really leave. Actually right now she's, her and my son are off for a run. My wife and, they walk the dog just in front here. We limit ourselves, and yeah, mostly the person that leaves the house for shopping, which I've become pretty, familiar with HEB over the last 4.5, 5 months with my wife telling, a lot of FaceTime. Hey, where do I find this? Does this look great and everything? I tell you what, the job that wives and my wife does and taking care of my kids and shopping on stuff, it's, and it's funny. It's, the first couple of months, it was a war zone going to the supermarket, man, everybody panicking and stuff. So I'm glad things have settled a little bit. Although we're about to have a meat shortage, so who knows what that'll happen.
Oh no more carnitas asadas.
No more carnitas. The toilet. We've seen some toilet paper come back into the fold. So that's been good. So.
Just a bit of a parenthesis. As a former HEB partner, I do want to thank all of the essential workers that have been, at it, out on the front lines for during this pandemic, getting this stocked. We cannot thank you all enough. So thank you, and be sure to treat them well, guys.
Unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. I just don't think I think sometimes we've taken for granted the importance of all those people, between people who the doctors and the firemen and EMTs and nurses, people who work at these essential places, between the cashiers and people who stock food, like just all of those things, and how important, how valuable they are. And you're right, Edson. I think, a big shout out to them, and thank you very much for keeping not only our community, but, our country going, because I think without them, this it could have been extremely chaotic. And I just think that they're extremely brave, because they know that this stuff is out there. They know that they might be exposed, and having people, come somewhat in contact with them, and they're out there just, being brave. And so, yeah, for sure. I'd like to join you in saying thank you, Edson.
Ray, do you have a question you want to ask Coach?
Coach, I know you guys barely went back for the first day, and just seeing some of these individuals. What were your thoughts just getting back out there to the pitch? In such a long time.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. First and foremost, obviously, we were able to see what kind of fitness some of our players have maintained throughout this time in which we were not able or allowed to see them work out. Obviously, we had some Zoom calls and some team workouts via Zoom, but it's not the same as when you're live in front of them. I think that, I know I enjoyed it. My staff enjoyed it, just from the looks on some of the players. I think it was pretty fun that they were out there. Some of them have been doing some workouts in some parks parks and stuff, which are not particularly the best surfaces to do some things on. And so I think it was good for them to be on our fields, on our training fields, and being able not just to do some fitness, but touch the ball around, get true bounces on the ball, just, be. And we gave them, through the fitness, Anthony put him through, and I thought that was a pretty good and intense workout. And then we did some stuff with the ball, and then we gave them some freedom to do some things on their own. So there was a lot of smiles and stuff, and so I think it was pretty good for them to be out there. And I know for us and for me, it was fun seeing them run around, kind of just getting a little bit, not the whole, but some back, getting some normal things back in my life, which is being able to see my staff, being able to see my players, even though sometimes you gotta make sure you can recognize each other with the stuff over your nose and mouth. So it was good.
So,
Edson.
okay. So in your experience, coach, as a head coach, both in collegiate and now with RGVFC as a pro soccer coach, how long do you think the team will take to get back to match fitness, and how much longer do you think this process of going with individual training, then to hopefully small group training, how long do you think that'll hinder that evaluation?
Yeah, I mean, there's different. I guess there's different, thoughts, and so the different people think, that you need 5, maybe about 5 weeks. Some say, you need a minimum of 3. So I think it's somewhere in between that and group. The good thing is that we've maintained a regimen of what they need to work out, and I think Anthony has been very good in regards to giving that, and our staff staying on top of that. However, you can run on a treadmill, you can run on your own, you can do the bike. There's nothing that prepares you more than fitness. So, in regards to having some scrimmages, having some 11v11s and stuff like that, that's different because, running, some people, oh, well, I can run. I remember back in the day, I had some friends like, oh, I can run as much as you and whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, run with me. Now have someone pull on your shirt, have someone kick you, have someone bump you, and now don't just run a straight line. How about stop, change, jump, run backwards, run side to side, slide tackle, jump, doing all those things. So that's different, and that's the game. And I think that that type of fitness and that, soccer players call it soccer fitness, basketball players call it basketball fitness, football player, every sport has their own type of fitness because there's certain, there's certain things that the game, and the sport demands of you, and you have to be constantly doing to get fit. And so as much as you ride a bike and you're running in a straight line, it's not the same as if where you're having that competition and that contact. So, I don't know. I think I like to think that we have a pretty good base, and hopefully it'll get us somewhere 3 to 4 weeks. Once we move into the group, so somewhere around. But I mean, if they tell us, okay, you have 3 weeks, or you have 4 weeks, or no matter what they tell us, we have to make it work, and we have to fix it. So as soon as we know that, then obviously we can start somewhat figuring that out. I think right now for this first week and a half, 2 weeks, I think the most important thing for us, Edson, is making sure that we can train in a safe environment and that nobody gets sick. I think that's the priority right now, that we can get our work done and see how we can manage going into the facility, out of the facility, and making sure that our players and staff can go in and out in a safe manner. And then hopefully, we'll be able to move into bigger numbers and start doing some more coaching and stuff like that, and integrating ourselves a little bit more, and actually, doing more group things.
Right.
Changing subjects here, Coach, for a little bit. Recently, the USL implemented its academy program, where I know you get to see some of these academy kids, or were able to see some academy kids right before the COVID stuff hit. What are your thoughts on the league implementing such a program now that the USADA shut down, and that the USL has taken some initiative to keep these younger prospects in within your farm system to try to bring them up to speed.
No, I think it's important, and obviously it's important that we have and that players, that they thrive under better competition. So you want to always hope to have them in the best competition where they can push themselves and have some success. And so, from some of the teams that I saw that I read, I thought it's important that our guys down here at the Valley and also some of the players in Houston that we have, they're going to be competing at a high level and a demanding level. Um, so that's important. Obviously most of the things that you do, you learn in training, and I think the training environment is extremely important. But just like anything else, you can study, and then how's the test in the weekend? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you got to make sure that you pass that test in the weekend, and against who. And so having different competition and having competition that's going to test you is going to be important, because when you go from youth soccer and U17, U18 soccer, and then you're moving up with us, even though our team's pretty young, that's not who we're playing against. We're playing against men. And sometimes, we might have a 16, a 17-year-old facing a 28, 29, a 30-year-old veteran who's wise and stronger. And so, we need to make sure that those guys are in a competitive environment day in and day out in training, but also in the weekends.
And I think now also with the announcement that RGV is joining as well, the MLS Elite a youth development league. I think it kind of goes to show what Coach Echeverry is trying to say, that they want to get these kids to go up against the best of the best in the United States. And what they say that what is it, steel sharpens steel or something like that?
Yep, steel sharpens steel. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's the best experience that our kids can get, and hopefully that'll lead to better preparation and a more consistent flow between the academy level and the RGVFC first team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think it's important. Obviously, we have Rocha, we had Brandon in previous years. So, I mean, there is talents. I mean, you have Antiveros, you have Garza, Cello. So there is a lot of talent, and God knows how many other kids that are in Mexico right now. So there is talent in this area, whether you tap it in. I think also one of the things that, you kept hearing before you got here is just that things maybe were not as organized as you would like them to be here in regards to youth development and youth programs for kids to be able to get out of this area. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? I think sometimes other teams didn't want to travel all the way down here to play our kids down here, just because the size of Texas and the distances. So we couldn't just stay in this little bubble of South Texas, you know what I mean, or of the Valley. We needed to make sure that our guys get seen everywhere else, because going down to Mexico, that's tough, you know what I'm saying? And that was probably the closest not easiest, but the closest place where some of these guys could fulfill their dreams. And anytime that you went down there, even though maybe you were Mexican descent, you're not really from there. You know what I mean? So it's not as easy for a kid, to go internationally from when they're growing up in America and going down to Mexico, and you're living in the in some of the youth apartments and things like that. So. I'm really glad that our players down here are really getting noticed, and so it's important, because there's one thing that it's in the blood. It's in the blood here. There's very passion between the fans, the parents. This is a soccer culture. It's just now making sure that we're able to showcase some of these players, and also making sure that they see what's out there. From the university level, from a pro level, just opening the doors for them, and I think that would be incredible. And right now, I think RGVFC with Rafa and his staff are doing a pretty good job in marketing our players. And so now we're kind of hoping also that not only our boys, but also now our girls are joining in and trying to expose them and giving them a boost to get themselves noticed, get themselves in better leagues. Because I have a daughter, and I see some of the talent here. There's some really talented young ladies down here too that hopefully they'll get an opportunity in the near future.
So going back to RGV and the USL. So my question is: so let's say the USL decides to go to each to coaches and ask them for their opinions. So let's say that USL reaches a conclusion. Okay, I think it's time that we should go back and start playing games for the 2020 season. Now the question is, personally, should teams be given a time frame before the season begins to play some scrimmages in preparation, or should they just go straight at it?
I mean, me personally, I would like to think that, we would like to have some scrimmages being set in place. And I think it's especially for us here in where we are in the Valley or in Texas. I mean, think about us being able to have the scrimmage that we have. So we have the two MLS teams between Houston and Dallas, right?
Yes.
And then we have Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, right?
Yes.
And us. Then we also have, you know what I mean, even well, I don't know what's
North
going on.
Texas in League
Yeah,
One.
but I don't know if being that it folded, what's going on with the players, if you know what I mean, and with Laredo, and you know what I mean. So I would hope that we would be allowed to have some an opportunity to have some scrimmages. Now that's also going to be, when you think about it, to have these scrimmages, it's going to be an added expense because you got to put some safety precautions into it. So you got to think about all of these things, and so I hope that they allow us to have scrimmages. I would like to have scrimmages, but if they don't, then we got to figure it out. And we can't just have any excuses. We just got to, all right. If they're going to let us have scrimmages, let's get at it. If they don't, then let's see how we do it. Now that's when your academy teams come into play, your U19s. And so, can we play the U19s from RGVFC and our U17s, or the ones from Houston also? So that's where it is. And I mean, I like to think that, pending what happens with that, Houston and us could probably try to set up, a couple of scrimmages to prepare, both teams.
Right.
Coach, one last question from me. Recently, the USL and its player association were handed like a negotiating thing where it was decided that they wanted to take up to a 20% pay cut. What are your thoughts on that? And I know that there isn't a revenue being made, but how will this affect everything just going forward?
That I don't know. I think that's a decision that the players have to make themselves. Everyone has their own individual responsibilities within their household, and so that's something that they would have to take take into consideration. It's kind of I mean, it's difficult for me to form an opinion on someone else's livelihood, on someone else's.
But as a former player, as a former player, I mean, would you see something?
What I see, the problem is I'm a little, because what I would say, I don't want that to influence my players. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because
Fair enough.
it's just not. I was asked this question also by some of them, and I didn't want to. I said, listen, I don't feel right answering because I'm not in the same position. I'm not going to battle with you guys, and so it's easy for someone else from the outside. Well, you should, and we all know, oh, you should do that. You should do that, and then. Listen, that's the decision you guys took. I don't even want to touch that because it's, you know what I mean? It's awkward because I just don't know what each situation. And listen, even within our team, different guys have different situations. Some have families, some don't. Some still have to help, families, back home where they are. Others don't. Others are on their own. Some come from different economical backgrounds. Some no problem, I can do it. Others, this is going to put me in a hole. So I think it would be a little irresponsible for me to kind of say something when I'm not prepared to not prepared, but when I wouldn't have to go through that myself. You know what I mean? So.
All right, thank you.
So I just wanted to read a comment, more like a question that was posted on the chat. And they ask, how would you guys play against teams that the counties will still be in stay at home? For example, Los Dos in LA County. Now, my question, my thing is, or my response to that would be, you know, that's a decision that has to be taken by the USL rather than individual teams. And I'm pretty sure that USL would not make a decision to restart a team unless every individual local authority of
That's
each.
what it is. It's the local authorities because we were able to start,
Yeah.
right? So New York, they're in the USL. They're not allowed to start. Hartford, they're not allowed to start. And USL said, okay, you're capable of starting, but then the local government's like, no, no one can come in, no one can go. Just the same thing. It's like, you know what I mean? I know a friend of mine was warned. You know that they have a place up in Maine, and they wanted to go to their lake house, and they're like, yeah, the locals, when they see New Jersey plates, they're not too fond because they know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, New Jersey's in a really, really difficult situation, and and friends like, yeah, you're not wanted. You can't go. You know what I mean? And so that's the same thing is that, and think about this is, you guys who cover our games. And so you know how it is, or let's just say a really bad place that we had to play New York. So Ray, Edson, how comfortable would you feel, trying to go and interview all their players?
I'd be very
Not very.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now the question lies is, and that's an important part is, do we put you guys in that predicament? Do we, and again, that's beyond me. I don't know. And maybe they, they take those guys and they quarantine them and they do tests and all that stuff. And obviously if you pass the test, then okay, you're fine to travel and all that stuff. But then now you got to think about not just them, but, the places where they're going to, because I mean, right now for me, going to LA, going through, and so normally our LA is usually, we go to Houston or we go to Dallas and then, change planes and go there. So my wife's probably going to be like, okay, once you start traveling, you better get a room somewhere because once you start, you can't be, you inadvertently can bring something back. You know what I mean? So that's kind of now, but that's what we take. Do we bus everywhere? So we're going to just come up with answers, and I think there's going to be questions, and I think there's going to be things that will be brought up, but it's how do we get to those answers? I think it's easy to just say, no, don't do it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we can't be irresponsible by saying, oh yeah, we'll figure it out. Like we have to find a balance and listen, everybody, we're all dying to start. We're all dying to play. I want to play in front of fans. I want to play, but I also want to have those fans be safe. I want you guys safe. I want my players, my staff, myself safe. You know what I'm saying? I want the opposition safe. I want everything. I mean, I don't want to be one of the guys that are responsible for, getting the starting the second wave. So, but again, there's guys a lot brighter than all of us that are trying to figure that out and constantly reading those numbers. And hopefully, they're making the smart decisions and then we follow. And at the end of the day is if you're not, because if you, Edson, and, or you, Ray, you're not comfortable, what do? You just don't go. We do this, right?
Mm-hmm. Here's another thing that, that I've been thinking of as well. Let's assume, okay, the USL says we're ready to go. Let's start testing. All the teams come up well.
Yeah.
Let's say the season starts again, but let's say in one of those games, one of the teams gets infected, where like most of their players get infected. What's going to happen? Are they going to have to forfeit because they have no players to fill in a starting 11? There's a lot of different factors that we've got to think about, and the fact of the matter is, there is no easy answer to this predicament. We have to go on a day by day basis, and yes, some cities are going to be more advanced as far as the flattening or reduction of the curve, but there's always going to be the little risk of it being of people getting infected even after the USL gives a go ahead. So
Yeah. No, I mean, and we can always find questions. We can always find,
what ifs?
what ifs, and then some. Yeah, I mean, this could be endless. And like you're saying, I mean, I think that there is some validity to what you're saying, that the Mexican guys were saying, that all these players are strong and all that stuff. Okay, yeah, but that's just one. That's one piece of the pie.
Mhm.
That has nothing to do with saying what the fans or the ball boys, and what I mean. So, and that's where it is, that I know that there's from higher ups are thinking about these and asking these questions and finding answers, and that's what we need from them. We need all these questions asked, all these answers, and then hopefully that when we do start, what I mean, we're capable. I mean, you're hearing about even within us, that we should have a bus league, that maybe you divide and have some guys, and again, these were opinions being thrown out by different people who call me, hey, why don't we do this, why don't you guys do that, what do you know about having a bus league? And I'm like, what do you mean a bus league? Yeah, you start out, you divide the USL, and you play teams within the bus,
Mhm.
within a bus ride, and maybe you play them twice, get a freaking winner, and then that team plays someone else. Okay, that's one idea. You know what I mean? Do you just play the teams where they're not as infected? Okay, and then you bring those teams back whenever they're okay. There's just it's just scheduling is tough, man. When you don't know when a team is available to play or not, or if a team forfeits. So now does everybody? So if the team forfeits because whatever it is, then does everybody? Maybe okay, everybody else gets 3 points from that team. Then you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's a very interesting dilemma, and it's something that I know that in my life it was weird, because I had a small taste of this. Do you guys remember? I don't know. Maybe you guys were too young. This is in 2008, when we were in the qualifiers with the 17s down in Tijuana, and the porcine flu. If you guys remember that,
Yep.
when it hit, and it hit hard there, and it was like we were playing, we qualified, right, and we're like, ooh, yeah, we go get dinner, and then like at 4 in the morning, boom, pack your stuff, we're out of here, because everybody was just getting contained, and we're like, is the World Cup going to be played and all that stuff? I mean, I think they got a hold of it relatively fast and contained it and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I mean, Tijuana got hit really hard, and we were right in the middle of it. And fortunately enough, we didn't get infected. We got home, we got quarantined, we got tested and stuff like that. Nobody got it, so that was positive. But that was the closest that and obviously I was like physically scared, because I had a daughter home at that time. She was 2.
Mhm.
I'm just like, I can't bring this home. You know what I mean? And so yeah, but that was extremely that was the closest, and it's nowhere near the with the numbers, and just the scare, the death toll, and just everything that this has caused, not only in our country but just worldwide. And you got to respect that, just all the damage that's been done. You have to you have to respect it. Now, yes, we got to find answers, and life goes on whatever it is. Okay, yeah, but then how do we keep, how does life go on, but at the same time keeping ourselves safe? And I think that one of the most responsible, that don't take care of themselves. That they just don't, I mean, I went to HEB, and it's like, and I don't know, it's like two guys, a couple, they didn't have the mask. And everybody's like, why don't you have a mask? Oh, it's not mandatory. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not mandatory, but isn't that the right thing to do? It's like, it's like, I don't know. And I guess it's similar to when I posted the cart, the shopping cart.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not mandatory that you put your cart back, but it's courtesy.
Yeah.
It's just what you do, and it's about doing the right things. So I don't know, but and I think that's my biggest fear, is just who are going to be those knuckleheads that are not going to listen.
So one last question, and this one's actually from Gilbert Guajardo, from a
Hey,
fan.
Gilbert.
So he says, even though you planned for today, what unique challenges arose from the limited training today?
what it shows that we wanted to do so much more, and we had to hold ourselves back because we couldn't. You know what I mean? Obviously, it was a little different, and obviously, anytime you have eyes on you and the competition, it's different. So when you're working out on your own, but you see the guy next to you, and then you have the strength conditioning right there. You had me in front of you. You had Bobby to the side. It just sends a little, a little so. It gave us a little bit, it gave the players a little bit more of an up and pushing themselves a little more. Mm-hmm. But, we had to hold ourselves from trying to do too much the first day too and trying to kill them, because then, again, we're just coming back. So, that's probably for us the difficult part is that we've been so cooped up that we want to do more and more and more, but we got to be careful and not put anybody in jeopardy.
So, Coach, we really would like to thank you for coming on the show tonight. I know that you gave up a lot of insight about what's going on within the team. I honestly did not think that we were going to be, chatting about this for as long as we ended up doing, and I really appreciate for you taking the time. Just real quick, how would you react if you were to see the virtual version of yourself on a YouTube video?
The virtual, I don't know.
FIFA 20.
So that would be interesting. If you could just lose a couple of pounds, that would be great.
Don't worry. The models, the models are like thin and extremely thin. So,
so my 20-year-old self, when I was in my 20s, that would be great.
Pretty much.
I think it's fantastic.
So not even playing for the Harrisburg Heat.
No, dude, I was still what?
Yeah, so guys, just gonna shamelessly plug. I am preparing. I did do the FIFA 20 mod for RGVFC. So I've got all of the players on the roster. Now I just wanted to figure out what would Coach do when I recreated him and having That's him awesome. as the manager for the career mode series that I'm planning to upload in the Down in the Valley YouTube channel.
That would be awesome. Hey, but Campbell's got to play because he's winning everything now. So
speaking of, did he just win today as well?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Because he was playing.
He's making us proud, baby.
Because I think New York Red Bulls too was pretty scared, and they had to put a YouTuber and EMLS player to go up against Kembo Kibato. Ya ves lo que dicen.
Chicken.
El miedo no anda en burro.
I bet Fernando Alva must have whispered something in his ear.
Yes. I'm trying to tune in to see. Oh, okay. In action against NY. I just saw that. That's the latest one. I don't know if he won or not. Yeah. Did you guys see the tweet of our guys coming back and running around?
Yes.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw it. It was pretty cool. But yeah, we really appreciate you coming in. Hopefully, we can get back safely back to HEB Park. But we cannot lose our patience. Like you've mentioned many times today, this is a slow process with so many variables and so many questions that we can't just rush into it.
So, no. I mean, I also just want to thank our fans for staying in tune and in touch with us. For you guys, to keep it in touch, keeping everything so relevant. Coming up with ways for our fans, our players, and ourselves to just stay connected. I mean, we're part of this community. We love being here. We love playing for you guys, and it's important, that we stay in touch because this is our community. And and throughout this whole conversation, the one thing is that I think we're taking all these measures to keep our community safe. You know what I mean? And that's something that's important to us and the responsibility of ours. So thanks a lot for having me, Edson and Ray. Appreciate it. Thanks for everything that you guys do. And hope to see you soon. Shout out to all of our fans that are with us, through the thick and thin. Stampede, you know what I mean? Love those Friday sessions. It's awesome. And so, thanks a lot for everything, and go Toros.
Gilbert says, thanks for joining us on the Zoom chats. Everyone in the Stampede loved it and appreciated you and the players' time along with Ron Patel.
Yeah, no, Ron's a good man. He's doing really, really well. Him and Tilly have been very supportive. You know what I mean? him and Tylee have been very, very supportive and doing everything for us. It's great,
Well, appreciate you coming on, and hope you have a good evening, and say hi to the whole family for us.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. See you guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.